In this video, I'm going to be exposing Nero Knowledge's $145,000 a month sales funnel. Now, in this entire breakdown, I want to be basically going in depth on how he actually garners his traffic, how he funnels his traffic, and last but not least, how he's able to convert his traffic and the techniques he uses to resonate with his audience and convert at a pace of 6 figures per month. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. So first things first, his brand is mostly associated with, I guess, understanding the universe. A lot of his videos are centered around that. And overall, when you hear Nero Knowledge, you would expect that he's just going to be able to teach this, right? Or help you understand or gain more knowledge on it. Now, he's mostly recognized for these things, which is like manifestation, attracting your dream life, breaking free from your chains, outsmarting reality, achieving true freedom within, gaining awareness, self-worth, and last but not least, spirituality. That's what he's associated with, and his brand aesthetic. So when you hear his name, you kind of think dark theme, secret association. He knows something that you don't. He's known for the raw speaking videos. That's part of his brand now. He's kind of mysterious, and last but not least, he's knowledgeable. And we're going to get into why people see him as knowledgeable as well, because it's very, very smart how he pulls it off. And last but not least, his ideal client avatar. So these are the clients that he wants to attract. Not is attracting, well, he is attracting them, but he wants to attract. This is something that we actually build out for our clients as well. We take them through a 3-step process where they fill out a bunch of questions, and then we take it through our system to identify everything about their actual audience. So if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, you don't have this right here, right now. You don't know what your current situation of your ideal client avatar is and the dream state of your ideal client avatar. Click the link below. I'm more than happy to help you out. I'm offering a free audit where I look over your business and see if there's any gaps that I can fill in or even install the system that I mentioned in the video today. But essentially, if you don't know your ideal client avatar, which is the ideal client you want to attract, if you don't know their current state or their dream state, it's very hard for you to market to them. So Nero Knowledge's, I guess, ideal client avatar current state is they have hit a revenue ceiling. They're not able to surpass a specific figure that they have for their business. They can't figure out manifestation as a whole. They're working endlessly, not having enough time to really live, wants to achieve more, but is being held back and just can't figure it out. Simple as. Whereas their dream state is more, they have broken their revenue ceiling. They want to have control over their reality. They want to work less and make more money. They still have time for their own life. That is their dream state. They can live. They are on their way to already achieving more. They're financially free, and last but not least, the universe bends to them, which is something that his audience value. Now, if we actually get into the traffic, he basically has 3 sources of traffic, but I put TikTok and Instagram into one because I feel like that's what he posts the same content on both. But if we take a look at his Instagram profile, basically, as you see, he doesn't really have many posts up. He has like 5 posts. However, he does have these story highlights, and he does also post reels, which I'm going to get into in just a second. Now, if we take a look at his bio, he's got Awakened Entrepreneur, this link to Outsmarting Reality, which is actually his book, which is a lead magnet. Now, I'm going to cover how this actually makes him a whole load of money and funnels people to his coaching later in the video, so stay tuned for that. But overall, his entire Instagram page is just centered around building credibility. All of these posts are mostly down to just his lifestyle. There's also a post down here where he's just sitting in literally a pool of books, but nonetheless, he basically posts story highlights, or he has these story highlights up here for credibility, and he also posts reels as well, which he posts on TikTok as well. He posts the exact same thing. So he posts different types of content. He posts talking head, where he basically sits and speaks in front of the camera and gives out value. He also has basically reels that have been clipped from his YouTube videos, or they have B-rolls on top of them, but nonetheless, he has a team or someone who is going into his YouTube videos and just clipping out key moments that have the most value and turning them into an Instagram reel. And last but not least, he has basically similar to this, but just a different style, where it's kind of like this square type of reel, and he's giving out value here with a bunch of B-rolls and effects on top of that. Now, with his story highlights, this is really converting for him at the moment, and this is something that a lot of coaches underutilize as well. And it's something that genuinely makes a lot of money. I've made tons of videos breaking down how this actually makes a lot of money. So feel free to check it out. I might leave one up in the top right of the screen right here. But if you really look at it, he's got 4 different story highlights. So he's got client results, he's got library, he's got YouTube, and he's got my story. Now, client results, as you would expect, basically just breaks down his client results, right? So here's one of his clients made £6,000 in a day. We have another one who made a whole testimonial for him, and we have another one who went from 1.5k to 3k per day in just 36 days after our first coaching call. So he's just giving out credibility. The whole point of this is to build credibility, and it's to build trust. That is pretty much it. Now, he also has library. Now, in the library story highlight, all he does is basically document all of the books that he's read. And this is just to basically provide credibility and that he's actually knowledgeable, which we're going to get into a lot more depth later in the video again. Now, he also has YouTube. I think every single coach should have this, but essentially a story highlight centered around just a YouTube channel alone, where they basically just show that they have posted a YouTube video and add this to a highlight so people can find your YouTube either way. It's a very, very powerful strategy because they may come from your short form content, but the way they're going to actually know, like, and trust you, which is very, very important to actually making money. If you get someone to know, like, and trust you, they are now going to be able to send you money. Okay, they will want to buy from you, and the way that you get someone to know, like, and trust you is through YouTube, which we're actually going to get into how he's utilizing that in a minute. However, he also has a My Story, which I've seen quite a few people do, and I've done it for quite a few of my clients as well. Here, he's just basically breaking down his story on how he grew up, who he was, and how he went from the audience's current state to their dream state. So if we just go back to this real quick, he's basically using all of these as an example of his life in the past and now how his life is right now. And what he's doing there is he's inflicting pain, but he's not only doing that, but he's also resonating with his audience, he's building trust, he's building credibility by basically just documenting how he went from A all the way to Z, to from current state to dream state. Now, of course, there's many more stories, but I didn't want to spam it. He basically just goes from, raised by a hardworking single mom in the universe from the age of 10. I knew I couldn't let it end like this, and then stuff like that. And then all the way to the end, where this is my 7-year and now 300 book journey in this game. I tried everything until I found what works, and now I teach it to people. And then what he does is he basically says to just DM me the word reality, which is also a CTA. Now, when you DM him the word reality, this will go over to his landing page, which we're going to get into in a second. Now, one important rule is the 7-11-4 rule. If you've watched any of my other YouTube videos, you would know what this is, but essentially it is a Google research study, which basically means that if someone watches at least 7 hours of your content and they engage across 11 different touch points on 4 different platforms, they are now prepped to buy from you. They are a very, very hot lead. And he accomplishes this not only through YouTube, but he accomplishes this through Instagram, his stories as well, and then also an email list, which we'll get into in just a second. But if we take a look at his YouTube channel, now he's at 333,000 subscribers. He shot up from like 3,000 to 100,000 subscribers very, very quickly, which I mentioned in my previous video, but I'm not going to speak about that. And the type of content that he posts is very, very similar. So unlike most other coaches who have like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel content, his content is very much middle to bottom of the funnel every step of the way, which is very, very impressive. And I honestly praise that. I'm impressed by it. But post videos like how the universe thinks, manifesting, time traveling is the fastest way to manifest. As you can see, there's a lot of word, manifesting, manifestation, a lot of stuff like that. Now, he's got another video called Self-Doubt. The only reason he knows to post that video is because he's done his research on the market, which is all the way up here. He knows that they have self-doubt. Okay, which is why he posted that video. Very, very important to know that because he's speaking to his audience right here. Now, in his YouTube videos, in the description, he basically has 3 links, which is one link, which is basically pushing to his book, which is also a lead magnet. Then he also has a link to his email list. And then he also has a link to the VSL page, which we're going to get into in just a second. But by pushing to the book, what does that really achieve? Well, this is basically the book funnel. If you've read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, the author of the book, actually used his book back in the day to basically funnel people into his seminars. He was like the ultimate course seller. And this is what William Brown, who's Nero Knowledge's mentor, has done. And this is what Nero Knowledge is doing too. So essentially, this is the way a book funnel works. His audience will read the book. Then they'll get value, they'll get more value, and then they'll get free resources. So they'll get directed to like a landing page where they have to opt in with maybe their name, email address, phone number, in exchange for some free resources. then they'll be given more value and more value, and then there'll be a CTA for more resources, okay? And what does that equal? Well, that equals a nurtured prospect, which eventually builds trust, it builds credibility. There is also a lot of value upfront, and there is also a HBI, which in other words means a high buying intent. And what does that cause? That causes hot leads, very hot leads. These are people who are like willing to give you their money at the snap of your fingers because they've read your entire book, they've gotten value from you for basically about $30. And now when you sell them a course, they're going to want it regardless because you've already provided them so much value. And their thought process is, wow, he's provided me so much value. I wonder how much more value he'd provide if I actually paid him $1,000 or $25,000. So that's the way a book funnel works. It's essentially a lead magnet that leads to more nurtured prospects that then equal to a lot more money. Because if someone with $1 million to their name reads this book right here because he's interested in his brand, he's certainly going to pay Nero Knowledge $25,000 for his consulting. And that's the way this works. Now, he also funnels people to an email list. Well, why is that? Well, essentially, he's going to nurture you through a bunch of free value. And eventually, or gradually, or sometimes occasionally, he will basically CTA to a landing page. He'll do just random call to actions, whether that's even booking in a call or to a type form, or he would just send a bunch of free resources. And the whole purpose of that is to get to one, get people to know, like, and trust you. And also, let's not forget about the 7-11 for rule, because this itself is just another platform for people to get to know, like, and trust you, and also another platform for people to get value from you, essentially, right? So here's his funnel, because we have a VSL page here, and we know that if people reply with reality to his story CTA, they will also get sent to the VSL page. At least I'm sure of that. From the previous video, what Nero did was he basically made you watch at least 3 to about 5 minutes of the VSL before you're able to click the button. But he has changed that ever since. And I'll tell you the reason why. Essentially, people that are paying him right here are people that already have a lot of money. There are people that are making at least $150,000 a year. And these people are the ones that want to go from $150,000 a year to $500,000, $1 million a year. So they will pay Nero $25,000, if not more, if not less, for his consulting, for his one-on-one consulting to 2 to 5x their revenue with their business or their job. And that's what they're paying him for. So the mistake that he was making, in my opinion, was he was hiding this button right here and making people watch at least 3 to 7 minutes of the VSL. But the chances are that if someone's making, even $150,000 a year, they're going to be very, very arrogant over their time, and they're not going to want to watch the entire VSL. Some people just want to buy from Nero straight away, and he was throwing all of those leads away. So I think he re-implemented this where you can just click the button right away and go straight to the type form without having to watch the VSL, because he realized that he was missing out on a lot of leads that way. Now, I didn't actually clip the entire sales page. I cut it off because it was way too long. If you want to watch the entire sales page, I've made a whole nother video on Nero Knowledge, and I broke down this exact same page, but essentially he just has some testimonials here. He breaks down all the features, some more copy on the reasons is not why you think. So he's kind of like, handling the objections, or handling the why, handling the what, handling the how. And then this is where he's handling the how as well. That controls your revenue ceiling, and he's giving belief shifts through his copy. His copy is very, very good. As I said, I broke it down in another YouTube video. Now, in his VSL, he follows this VSL framework, which I'm going to brush past very, very quickly. But essentially, he covers desire, double your revenue, feel free from stress, get what you want. And then he goes into the why me phase. He keeps referring to how secret societies know something that he also knows, but you don't. This is more like, okay, now I want to learn from him because he knows something I don't. He also claims that he has read 300 books on manifestation, which is a show of knowledge. He wants to show knowledge, okay? He's worked with 150 plus clients and been on this journey for about 8 years now. This is giving credibility. Big, big, big credibility. Let me thicken my pen. Then he starts breaking beliefs, okay? He says this isn't like the usual law of attraction you hear being thrown around. What this tells people is like, when they're watching the video, they're like, this is probably some BS law of attraction. And then he's like, no, this isn't some usual law of attraction. And that just regains their attention. That handles an objection before it even came up. And then he says, you don't have to do this or this or this. And he's handling objections that way. And then he starts pointing out the pains. And then lastly, he hits you with a lot of credibility, where he keeps throwing up dozens of screenshots of people he has helped. He also has a client result counter. Basically, as the VSL goes on, this number right here just keeps going up and up and up on how much money people have made. Then he has a solid, well-made testimonial from some credible people in the space. And then, of course, at least 3 to 4 CTAs to click the button below throughout the entire VSL as well. And throughout this entire VSL, he uses Kyle Milligan's new, easy, safe, and big method, which is a copywriting method. If you don't know who Kyle Milligan is, he's a very, very great copywriter, but essentially he breaks down how you have to present the opportunity as a new opportunity. This has to be an easy opportunity. It can't be hard, because if it's difficult, people don't like difficult. It needs to be a safe opportunity, something that doesn't involve a lot of risk. And last but not least, it has to be big, because if it's not big, people aren't excited about it. So he uses all of these throughout this entire VSL framework. Feel free to copy this if you're a coach, because this is straight value. And then we get into the convert phase. Now, he uses Typeform. If you don't know what Typeform is, I broke it down in the previous video, but it's essentially a form that you fill out, and based on your answers, they're able to actually disqualify you or redirect you in different parts of the funnel, which is super, super smart. And essentially the whole point of this in Nero's context is, one, he tries to get context of the audience. He wants to qualify you, and he wants to capture you as a lead by collecting your email or your phone number in case you don't fill out the form completely, or you fill out but you're not exactly qualified. Now, he has a monthly income qualifier. He asks you a question, what's your monthly income right now? And if you select that is below $15,000 a month, you get redirected to basically saying, hey, thanks for applying. After reviewing your application, the one-on-one program isn't the best fit for you, but don't worry, I've got a gift for you that fits you way better. And if you click to learn more, it takes you to another page, which is a low ticket sale. It pitches you for a course community, which is around $995. And then that way is also an Ascension offer, which I'm going to show in just a minute. But if your income is above $15,000 a month, then he'll ask you a couple more questions like what your goals are and stuff like that. And then he will redirect you to a Calendly book-in page where you type in your name, your email, your phone number, and then of course your again. And here you actually get to book in a call with otherwise Nero himself or a closer. So this is the process leading up to the sales call. So you'll probably get a message by Nero or the closer themselves. Okay, there'll also be manual and automated reminders in the meantime. So there'll be automated reminders done with Calendly. And usually they're like, let's say 24 hours before we send an email for our clients, 12 hours before the call, we send an SMS, 1 hour before the call, we send an email and an SMS, and about 5 to 10 minutes before or on the time that the call actually starts, we send another SMS saying like, hey, what's up, John? I'm in the call right now. Let me know when you're ready. Or here's the link. And through that time, these are the automated reminders. And then occasionally, always Nero or a closer will actually message you on WhatsApp or iMessage, actually nurturing you and making sure that you can show up to the call manually. Well, just for that personal touch. Now, when the sales call actually happens, there are 3 things that can happen from that sales call. If it's a no-show, then the prospect will be taken into a kind of follow-up sequence where they're reinitiated to book in a call again. If they're not closed, they'll be sent more content and value to consume, to be recycled eventually, to be booked in on another call when they are qualified. And last but not least, if they are closed, they get turned into an official client of Nero Knowledge. Now, all of this is handled within a CRM. Mostly, in most cases, Go High Level is an all-in-one CRM that people use. Very, very good. But for the most part, this is what handles everything. And when people go through the low ticket offer, they will start to get results. And once they're making above $15,000 a month, they will most likely ascend up to booking in a call with Nero. He probably has a process where you go through the entire course, and then at the end of the course, he says upgrade to consulting or upgrade to one-on-one mentorship, where they can book in a call again with Nero or a closer, where they can get closed on his $25,000 offer. Okay, now just a quick disclaimer: he works with pretty much people that are very successful, celebrities, stuff like that. So this isn't for pretty much anybody, which is why he has a Typeform in the first place. He wants to disqualify people who are not fitted for his program. But this is how Nero Knowledge is able to generate at least $145,000 every single month with his sales funnel. Now, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, if you're someone with a skill that wants to monetize, and you want these exact systems or any of the systems I break down on my channel installed into your business, I'm going to leave the first link in the description, which is you can book in for a free audit call with me directly, and I'll overlook your entire funnel, your entire conversion process, and see if there's anything I can tweak by any chance. And worst case scenario, you can walk away with genuine free value, no hard pitch, nothing. And one last disclaimer: I do not dislike Nero Knowledge. I don't think he's a scammer, and I think he's very, very intelligent on utilizing his audience and who his audience are revolved around and his ideal client avatar to be optimizing for conversions, because at the end of the day, that's not scamming, that is marketing. And I know what he provides is truly valuable to people. So I thank you for watching till the end of the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.